Picking paint colors can be so overwhelming. Am I right or am I right? When you're standing in front of that huge wall of paint chips and you have no idea where to start, it can actually kind of deter you a little bit from even beginning your project. But this video, I'm going to give you a few simple tips on how to choose the best paint color for you so that you'll have the tools to navigate that sea of paint colors. Welcome back to Martin-MadeTV, inspiring life, home, and style. First things first, let's start with what not to do. Do not visit the paint store and look at that wall of paint chips and just pick any random light green color. I almost guarantee that you will probably hate the color once it's up on the walls. Trust me, I've done it before. I've made so many paint mistakes. Please don't make the same mistake. It may seem logical to just pick whatever looks good to you in the store, but once you get it up on the walls, that's when the true test will be of what that paint color truly looks like in your space. An easy tactic and the basis for choosing any paint color for any space in your home is to start with inspiration. That can be a piece of fabric that you like. That can be artwork that you might like. That can also be an inspiration picture that you might have found on Pinterest. Start with inspiration. That'll help guide you towards which colors you like the most and which colors will blend in best with your space. And when you're seeking that inspiration, just go with what you love. Don't worry about rules. Don't worry about colors clashing. Go with what you love and work from there. For me, in the case of my master bedroom, my inspiration actually came from an image I saw on television. I have no idea how to find this image, but it's ingrained in my brain because I loved it so much. It was a bedroom and I can remember how it was styled and all the colors that were used, and that is where my inspiration kicks off. That's where I kicked off my choice or my path in choosing the color that would be right for my master bedroom. Because I love that image so much, I knew that was definitely where I wanted to start with my master bedroom redesign. So it was very easy for me to choose a paint color that would work in my space. Once I chose the general color family that I liked, which is ivory in my case, and the tone, and by tone I mean to make sure it's not too saturated, not too yellow, not too pale, that kind of tone. Once I chose the general color family and the tone that I liked, it was easier for me to sort through all of the paint chips to find one that best matched my space. And that's exactly what I did. I sorted through all of the resources I had available to me. So I shifted through the paint decks that I own. I went to a couple different stores, the larger home improvement stores, to see what they had on hand, and I was able to narrow down my choices from there. I would say that I probably brought home 5 or 6 of those little paint chip cards, came home, put them up on the wall or against the wall to see if I liked them in the space. And especially I had to put them up against the white trim that's in the bedroom also. That's something important to keep in mind. Depending on your trim color, maybe your trim is a bright white, maybe it's more of an ivory tone, or it has a bluish undertone. That can definitely affect the way the wall color displays in your space. So I needed to hold those paint chips up against the trim color to see which ones match the best. And doing that also helps to bring out the undertones in your selected paint chip. Some of them against the bright white looked too pink, some of them looked way too yellow, some of them looked too white, and it didn't give enough contrast to show that it was actually an ivory paint color on the wall. So that was extremely important. Once I narrowed it down to my 3 top choices, those are the ones I went back to the store to get paint samples of. I know it sounds like this is something that takes a lot of time and is super laborious, but I promise if you do these few steps, you will have a paint color that you love. So after I went to get the samples, the little pots, I think maybe like $3 or $4, you can get a little sample container of the paint of your choice. You tell them what finish you want, whether it's flat, eggshell, high gloss, whichever, and they mix it up for you. I brought it home, and that's when I put the samples up on the wall. So some of the samples I put in varying spots in the room. So some were on the walls that get the brightest sun from the windows. Some samples I put immediately right next to the trim to make sure, like I said, it looks good against the white. And also some samples I put on the darker walls in the space, or the walls that do not receive light from the windows. So it would be the walls where the windows are, if I'm explaining that correctly. And I will say that the 3 paint colors I chose on the chips looked almost exactly the same. However, once I put them up on the walls, I could definitely tell the difference. One was way too yellow, one was actually too pink, and the other one was just right. So who knew I was the Goldilocks of paint colors? I guess I am. But once I found the one that was just right, that's the one I returned back to the store to get a gallon of paint to start my project. So I encourage you to do the same thing. Sift through all of the paint chips you're given, narrow down to a color family that you'll love and that you'll like for the space. Go to the store, get your paint chips. Well, if you have to travel back to the store, maybe you know this information before even going. But gather up all your paint chips, the ones that speak to you, the ones that look most like your inspiration or complement your inspiration the best, and then bring those home, see what they look like in your space. Because don't forget, when you're in the retail stores, that's fluorescent lighting, which is extremely different from sunlight and incandescent lighting that most of us have in our homes. Once you have the paint chips at home, make sure you're looking at them in daylight, also in the evening, so that you can see them in the varying types of lighting. And that's when you'll be able to best narrow down the options for you. Some people, and I've done it before, I can kind of take those paint chips and see, okay, this is definitely the color I need. And maybe I don't need to get paint samples, but I do highly suggest you still get paint samples just to make sure. Because even though painting a room is pretty quick and harmless, it's still work. So you don't want to have to do double work. Put your paint samples up on the wall and choose your winner. As simple as that. I've painted so many rooms in my lifetime, and I've made so many mistakes in choosing paint colors. So hopefully these tips that I've given you will help you to not make the same mistakes I did. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you have any questions for me or even comments about how you choose paint colors for your space, leave them down below. I'd love to get the conversation started about it. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see more videos like this one about tips on interior decor, and also so you can catch up with me on many of my DIY projects, namely that bedroom makeover that I mentioned. I've linked my previous video on painting tips right here, so you can click on that if you want some other tips on how to actually paint the walls after you get your paint color from the store. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and I'll catch you in the next one.